Hi, everyone. This is Morgan with JP Fluellen with the Titan Real Estate team. And today I just kind of wanted to sit down with JP, get his story and his journey through real estate. So, how long have you been doing real estate and what made you decide to get into it?
I've been doing real estate since 2010. And what made me decide to get into real estate was by accident, actually, which is probably a lot of people's stories. You're like, oh, I just kind of was walking through the woods and just fell over a log and then got into real estate. But really, no, I mean, we started off as investors and then basically went from being in an investor space to as a natural progression, just to try to get ahead of those investment properties, and started looking at different ways to get ahead of it. We could go the traditional route of throwing up signs on the street corner, we buy houses, or I could just get licensed and try to get ahead of it that way. And so it was originally going to be my wife getting her real estate license, and then actually I my wife was like, well, why don't you get your real estate license? Because I'm already busy with, at that time she was in the Air Force as a psychologist. And so she was like, why don't you just get your license? Because you hate your job. So you should just go get licensed. So I was like, yeah, but I hate school. So there's that. And she's like, oh, you can do it. You're fine. When you focus, you can do good. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay. So I decided to go ahead and get my license. So that's kind of how that started. So um, thank God it's not 4 years to get your real estate license, because I would have never gotten licensed for sure, because I went to college for 8 years. And in a normal world, that would be a doctor. But yeah, no doctor here. So my wife actually has her doctorate, but she likes to rub that in my face too. So, but yeah, there you go.
Awesome. And so, what was kind of your situation before real estate? What were you doing, and what was kind of some of those immediate challenges in the first couple years of your career with real estate?
Sure. So right before real estate, my situation was I was working for Enterprise Rent a Car. And if you don't know, I don't know if they've changed it now, but at that time you had to have a 4-year degree to get a job at Enterprise. And I only had a 2-year degree. But so I felt kind of special that I was, one of a very few people that bucked the system. But what ended up happening was, in order to move up in that company, you had to travel quite a bit. So they don't like you to be at any given office for longer than a year. And so at that time, I had a growing family. We had 4 kids, and it just really got to the point where my wife was like, you need to figure out something else, because this traveling thing is not working. I feel like I'm a single mom. And so I'm like, all right. So I was like, so she's like, you got to figure something out. So, um, so as I said, I was, at that position where I was just like, I didn't like working 50 hours a week, didn't like traveling, didn't like doing all those things. And so I decided, let's give this real estate, gig a try. And, lo and behold, I did no deals for 6 whole months. And probably not by choice, but by because I just hated working. I just didn't even want to work. My wife was in the Air Force, and so I was like, we got a steady paycheck. I hate working. I'm a licensed professional now. And so I was like, I'm just gonna, use my professionalism to, have my business come to me by osmosis. And that doesn't work in real estate. You can't just sit on your butt and play video games at home for 4 hours a day and hope the business is just going to knock on your door. So that was not the best strategy. And so those first 6 months were kind of rough. My wife quit her job in the Air Force and started her own business. So we decided that, the smartest thing to do is cut off all income sources and start businesses all at the same time, because that's a really smart idea to do. So if you're going, for any of you that are listening, do not do that. Have a plan. We didn't have a good plan. But because we had some investments before, we both quit our jobs. So we had like, I think 4 rental properties at the time. So we were just like, you know, we'll take all the income from that, not pay our mortgages on those, and just live off of those. And so we owned our own house, plus we owned investment properties, and we're just living off our rental income for about 5 months. And basically we're just waiting for some things to come rolling in. And so then my wife uh, is a psychologist, and she had her own practice at that time, and we were waiting for some referral sources to come through insurances and whatnot. And so she needed me to help her find a building for her business. And with the SBA, you don't actually have to prove that you have income. You just have to prove you have a good business model. And so we were able to prove that we had a good business model. And so they awarded us an SBA loan to buy our first uh, piece of real estate. So that's how I got that. It wasn't even by, my wife was my first client. So, win for me. And so, at that time, we just got hit with the crash up here in Wyoming. And so you had a lot of calls for people that needed rental properties. And then we also had a lot of calls for military that were leaving, and they were upside down on their mortgages because of the VA funding fee, prevents them from actually having any positive cash flow for at least a couple of years. And so combining those two things, I was converting Air Force folks that needed to leave the area into absentee landlords. And because there were so many renters at that time, I was converting renters into buyers. And so I just found that niche, and I convinced my broker that we needed to get into the property management business. And so I had a little bit of a steady income coming in every month, about $700-800, just enough to fund my advertising budget to get leads. And then also converting those rental calls into purchasers for that was my first year in real estate, and I got 18 deals my first year, so I actually did pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So fast forwarding a little bit now. So now you are growing your team. So what has kind of been some of the struggles that you have encountered with kind of growing and now being a leader and starting your own business with it?
Yeah, so some of the challenges that you have as a team leader is if you're in production and still trying to coach, train, and give accountability, that you really have to have a real grasp of your schedule. If you don't have your schedule dialed in, the monster of growth will just eat you alive, and eventually people will think you don't care, and then eventually they're just going to leave and try to find other options. And so that's really where it comes down to in terms of the challenges as a leader. And then also coming up with good content every week, because we do meetings every single week, twice a week. And so having good content is really the biggest challenge, is really keeping your agents engaged, giving them some nuggets they can chew on every week. And then also, when they're not getting successes, is how do you coach them through, where they're failing, and, being able to present that in a way that you don't offend somebody, or, cross that line or something like that. So you got to have those difficult conversations sometimes, and sometimes they just don't go the way you expected. So, so yeah, that's it.
Awesome. I love that. So, what would you say to some of these newer people that are now probably in your shoes of where you were kind of at the start of this interview? What advice would you give to them to get to where you are now, too?
I would say, when I first got into business, there were no teams. Teams was kind of just a weird hybrid of brokerage slash referrals, and looking for the proof, find out some people on a team and see what kind of successes they're getting from the team environment that they're at, as well as you have to have the right mindset for success, that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so, just knowing that you have to build your business one block at a time, and understanding that, this is not a job where you just open the door and you start getting paid. and but the thing about real estate is you're gonna get paid what you're worth if you put in the work, and with those promises that they tell you of flexible schedule and unlimited income potential. Well, that's true to a point with the right roadmap, and you got to have the right roadmap. And if your team leader is not, or broker or whoever it is that you're working for, it is not giving you the right roadmap, then you're going to end up in Antarctica because you got the wrong directions, and you're like rerouting, so you're going to end up not going the way that you want to go. So
Awesome. So now kind of what is your vision for the future for you and the Titan Real Estate team?
yeah, absolutely. So my vision is, in one of my staff is right back here, and she's gonna want some help. So eventually we're gonna get her some help, and then so I really want 3 or 4 staff people, one person to do marketing, one person to do just transaction coordination, and then probably one more person to just manage lead flow and ROI on leads, and an accountability manager. So someone that handles the leads coming in and out, and then the accountability with all the agents. That's ideal. As well as we want to have, we're thinking 50 agents is probably the sweet spot for us. That puts us in a pretty competitive position in our market, so that we can reach that 33% market share goal that we have. Not that it's too obvious, but that's what we're working towards. And so that's, and we want to be doing right around 600 transactions for about 100 million a year.
Awesome. That sounds awesome. So if someone wants to get in touch with you about joining your team or just to get more information, what is the best way that they can get in contact with you?
So the best way is either to call me or text me, 307-772-1184. You can also just email me at james.fluellen@gmail.com. Or you can just reach out to me on social. Just type in James, or actually JP Fluellen, and that's Fluellen on Google. And you can find me pretty much everywhere. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the things, and I think that I have some other ghost websites out there too that are probably look like me, but probably aren't me. So just call me. You can get a hold of me. We're good.
Awesome. Love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's definitely a good one. Yeah. Thanks, JP.
Awesome. Thank you.